The clock is ticking for Arsenal Football Club, not metaphorically, literally. 4 games, 4 chances to complete something. This club has not done in over 2 decades. The Premier League title is within reach. A Champions League final in Budapest is already confirmed. And right now, in the middle of all of that, Mikel Arteta is standing in front of a room full of cameras and he is being asked one simple question. Are Jurrien Timber and Marcos Merino available for Sunday? His answer is immediate. No, no chance for the weekend. 2 players gone, 2 options removed. And the match against West Ham United at London Stadium is less than 48 hours away. This is not a moment for comfort. This is not a moment for looking ahead to finals and celebrations. This is the sharp edge of a title race. Every single detail matters now. Every player available, every decision made, every point dropped or won, because Manchester City are watching. Pep Guardiola has already said it publicly. If Arsenal slip, City will be there immediately. Sunday is not just a football match. Sunday is a statement, and Arsenal must deliver it without 2 of their key men. This is where we are right now, and this is where our analysis begins. Team news, Timber and Merino, the injury situation. Let us start with the team news situation because it has a direct impact on what happens on Sunday against West Ham United. Mikel Arteta was asked directly about Jurrien Timber and Marcos Merino ahead of the West Ham match. His words were clear and measured. He confirmed there are no new injury concerns from the Atletico Madrid game. Everybody, in his words, finished the game well. That is the good news. Arsenal came through that massive Champions League semi-final second leg without any fresh problems. However, on Timber and Merino, Arteta was equally direct. He said, and I want you to hear this clearly, no chance for the weekend. Those were his exact words. There is no ambiguity there. Neither player will be available for the West Ham fixture on Sunday, the 10th of May at London Stadium, kicking off at 4:30 in the afternoon, United Kingdom time. Now, here is where it gets even more significant. Arteta was then pushed further. Will we see either player before the end of the season? And his response was honest. He said he does not know. He said there is still a fair bit to do and that everything has to be smooth and quick if either player wants to have any chance of getting minutes before the campaign ends. Now, let me give you my analysis on what that actually means. When a manager uses that kind of language, when he says things have to be smooth and quick, he is essentially telling you not to expect these players back. He is managing expectations. He is not saying they will return. He is saying it remains possible but highly unlikely unless their recovery accelerates dramatically. On Timber specifically, Arteta went further. He acknowledged that Timber's injury has been more significant than first expected. He called it, and again, these are his words, probably the most difficult thing to manage with the player and with myself as well, because we did not expect it to take so long. And at the moment, he is not fit to play. That is a big admission. That tells us Arsenal's coaching staff genuinely believed Timber would be back before this point. The timeline they had in mind was not met. The Dutch defender is not ready. And that reality now shapes Arteta's available options for the final 4 games of the season, including the Champions League final in Budapest. The evidence is clear. Arsenal are managing this injury with full transparency now. Whatever optimism surrounded Timber a few weeks ago has shifted to honest acknowledgement that this player will almost certainly not feature again this season. That changes the defensive rotation picture for Arteta heading into the most important period of the club's modern history. The 60-game milestone. Arsenal are in uncharted territory. Now, here is a statistic that I think gets buried under the noise of titles and finals, but it deserves its own moment of recognition. On Sunday against West Ham United, Arsenal will become the first team from any of Europe's top 5 leagues to reach 60 matches in all competitions this season. 60 matches, that is not just a number, that is a statement about the scale of what this squad has been asked to do. No team in Spain, no team in Germany, no team in France, no team in Italy and no team in England has played as many games as Arsenal will have played by Sunday, not one. Arteta described it simply as marathon, and that word is exactly right. Think about what that means for the squad. Think about the accumulated fatigue, the physical demands, the mental load of staying competitive across that many games. And then think about the fact that Arsenal are still in the title race and are still in the Champions League final. That is not just impressive. That is exceptional squad management from Mikel Arteta and his staff. The significance of this milestone cannot be overstated. 60 games is a number that tells you this squad has had no breathing room, no cup exits that freed up calendar space, no early European elimination that gave players rest. They have been competing at the highest level continuously and they are still standing with everything still to play for. that context matters when you evaluate every decision Arteta makes from here. Every selection choice, every rotation, every minute management call must be viewed through the lens of a squad that has played more games than any other team on this continent this season. Nuno Espirito Santo speaks, and his words tell you everything. West Ham manager Nuno Espirito Santo was asked about facing Arsenal, and his press conference response is worth examining closely because it reveals exactly how the rest of the league views this Arsenal side right now. He said, "It is difficult to beat Arsenal because they are very good." He said they are a very talented team fighting for huge things and achieving huge moments. He confirmed Arsenal have reached the Champions League final. He called them a tough opponent. He said they take more advantage of set pieces than almost any team. He said they do things very well with the ball and off the ball, that they are hard-working, disciplined, organised and talented. And then he said this, which stood out to me. He said they don't have many weaknesses. They are very good. A manager preparing to face a rival does not usually hand them that kind of compliment unless he genuinely means it. Nuno is not trying to flatter Arsenal. He is acknowledging the scale of the challenge his team faces. But notice what else he said. He mentioned the advantage of playing at London Stadium. He said that always gives West Ham a boost. He called on his players to give everything, to be present, to focus on their tasks. There is no hiding, he said, the language of a manager who knows his team is the underdog but who wants them to fight. My analysis here is straightforward. West Ham know what they are facing. They know Arsenal are in form, that they are motivated and that they are desperate for 3 points. But London Stadium can be a difficult venue and Nuno will try to use the energy of that environment as a weapon. Arsenal will need to be switched on from the first minute. Pep Guardiola speaks on the title race. What his words reveal, this is one of the most interesting pieces of the puzzle today. Pep Guardiola gave a statement on the title race with Arsenal, and it is worth reading carefully because it tells you something important about the mindset at Manchester City right now. Guardiola spoke about loving to play at home at this stage of the season. He talked about the energy of their supporters, the pressure they can put on opponents, the atmosphere they can create. He said every single game feels like a final right now. He then said, and these words matter, we know what is required from us. We have to win our matches. Simple. He reminded everyone that his team has been in this position many times before. He talked about their experience, their mentality, their ability to handle pressure. He said they know what it takes to win the Premier League. Now, here is the section that caught my attention most. He acknowledged Arsenal have had a very good season. He said people are talking about Arsenal, and rightly so. But he then added that he does not believe Arsenal will win every single match from now until the end. He said in football, things change very quickly. He mentioned pressure, injuries, dropped points. He said City's job is not to focus too much on Arsenal, but to capitalise whenever Arsenal make mistakes. If they slip, we have to be there immediately. He closed with, this is the moment where mentality wins titles. Now let me give you my honest analysis of these words. Guardiola is a manager who has won more titles than almost anyone in the modern game. When he talks about mentality, winning titles, he is drawing on real experience. He is not making empty statements. He genuinely believes City can catch Arsenal if Arsenal falter. But here is what the evidence also tells us. The fact that Guardiola is giving this kind of motivational speech publicly suggests City know they are behind. You do not talk about waiting for a rival to slip if you are already ahead. The pressure is on City as much as it is on Arsenal, arguably more so, because Arsenal are the ones in front. Sunday's result matters enormously, not just for Arsenal, but for how the title race looks heading into the final stretch. Carragher, the biggest game of the season, and why he is right. Jamie Carragher made a statement that stopped me in my tracks, and the more you think about it, the more correct it is. He said the West Ham versus Arsenal game could arguably be the biggest game of the entire season. His reasoning was precise. He said it is a huge game for Arsenal because of their title position. He said it is a huge game for West Ham because of the implications it has for Tottenham's relegation battle. The angle there being that West Ham need points and are fighting for their survival. And he said it is a huge game for Manchester City because if Arsenal drop points, City's title hopes immediately become more realistic. In one single match, 3 different clubs have enormous stakes riding on the outcome. That is extraordinary, and Carragher is absolutely right to frame it that way. He also made a separate point about the Champions League final. He said he believes the Champions League is a bigger trophy to win. But he added that Arsenal have gone so long without winning the league that they will be desperate for it. He said if they win it, and he believes they should, given their current position, it will give them a massive boost heading into the final against Paris Saint-Germain. He said they will need that boost because, in his view, Paris Saint-Germain are the better team overall. However, he made clear that in a one-off game, Arsenal absolutely can win. My analysis here is balanced. Carragher is not dismissing Arsenal. He is being analytically honest. Paris Saint-Germain are a formidable side, but one-off games in finals are decided by moments, by preparation, by belief, and by which team handles the occasion better. Arsenal reaching the final already proves they belong at that level. Winning the Premier League before that final, if they can do it, would be transformational for their confidence walking into Budapest. Arteta on Declan Rice, the praise that tells a bigger story. Mikel Arteta was asked about Declan Rice returning to London Stadium, the ground where Rice built his reputation before joining Arsenal. Arteta's response was generous and specific. He said Rice was already really well developed when he arrived, but he said Rice has been outstanding for Arsenal. He called him one of the club's leaders, one of the main players without any doubt. He said what Rice is doing for the club and for the team is very powerful. Now, there is also an external recognition that reinforces this analysis. It has been officially confirmed that Declan Rice ranks second in the Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year award for 2026. Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United took first place. Erling Haaland came in third. Let that sit for a moment. Declan Rice, in a season where Arsenal are fighting for a Premier League title and a Champions League final, has been rated as the second best footballer in England by the Football Writers Association. That is not a minor achievement. That is elite recognition from the people who watch football professionally every single week. The narrative writes itself. Rice returning to West Ham. Rice, the leader of this Arsenal side. Rice, the second best footballer in England this season. Sunday is a deeply personal game for him, and that emotional layer adds another dimension to what Arsenal could produce at London Stadium. Arteta on 4 games from history, the vision 6 years in the making. This is perhaps the most emotionally significant moment from Arteta's press conference. He was asked directly about being 4 games away from realising the vision that was set out 6 years ago when he took the job. His answer was almost meditative in its calm. He said at the moment, it does not matter. He said, let us live in the present. He said, when there is time, they can reflect on whether they got the timings right and every decision right. But right now, the most important thing is what the outcome is when it comes to the end of May. End of May, that is when the Champions League final takes place. That is the final destination of this entire journey. The way Arteta speaks about this is revealing. He is not looking back. He is not celebrating early. He is entirely present focused. That mental discipline is exactly what you need from a manager at this stage of a season where everything is still to be decided. The vision laid out 6 years ago is now within touching distance. But Arteta refuses to count anything before it is won. That is the right mindset, and it filters down through the squad. Finally is Lewis-Skelly, the emergence of a generational talent. Now let us talk about Myles Lewis-Skelly, because this story is one of the most compelling subplots of Arsenal's entire season. The situation is one that Arsenal fans will remember for a long time. Lewis-Skelly had barely played this season before last week. He had fallen behind Riccardo Calafiori and Piero Hincapié in the pecking order at left-back. Arsenal supporters had been vocal about wanting to see him get minutes in central midfield. But Arteta did not seem ready to make that move until something changed against Fulham last weekend. Lewis-Skelly was given a start in midfield, and what followed was, by all accounts, one of the most impressive individual performances by an Arsenal player in recent weeks. Arteta spoke about Lewis-Skelly in his press conference, and his words were striking in their detail. He said it has been a process of understanding the player better and the player understanding the standards required at this level. He said to understand the reasons why you play or you do not play is part of growing at a club like Arsenal. But then Arteta said something that tells you exactly how highly he rates this teenager. He used the word exceptional. He described Lewis-Skelly's attitude, his training, his support for teammates when he was not playing, all of it as exceptional. He said Lewis-Skelly gave every sign that when the chance came, he would respond in the manner he has done. And then Arteta added something remarkable. He said it is not easy, especially when you have not played that much, to look that fresh, that confident, that energetic, playing with that determination. He called it surprising. Paul Merson added to this picture. He observed that Lewis-Skelly has not played 50 or 60 games the way Declan Rice or Martin Zubimendi have. He brings fresh legs to the midfield at exactly the moment in the season when fatigue is a factor for everyone else. Merson said both Bukayo Saka and Myles Lewis-Skelly have been like new signings for Arsenal in this final run-in. Think about what that means. Lewis-Skelly was educated as a midfielder. He broke into the first team at left-back and was exceptional there. But his performances in central areas in the last two games, against Fulham in the Premier League and against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League semi-final second leg, have shown that central midfield is where his ceiling is highest. He is not just filling in, he is performing at a level that has earned him consecutive starts in two of the biggest games of Arsenal's season. That tells you everything about his quality. The question now being asked is who starts in midfield in the Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain, Lewis-Skelly or Martin Zubimendi? That is a conversation that did not exist 2 weeks ago. Now it is central to Arsenal's planning. Victor Gyökeres, the Arteta endorsement, and what it tells us, Arteta was also asked about the development of Victor Gyökeres, and his response was a masterclass in explaining how improvement works at the highest level. He said some of the improvements you see in players, the work behind them was probably not done yesterday or the day before. It was done months ago. Improvement does not happen overnight. He said Gyökeres has been working extremely hard. He said the demands Gyökeres places on himself are incredibly high. He always wants to learn. He is always asking questions. He always wants to do extra work. Arteta then made a point that I think is underrated in football analysis. He said Gyökeres is always trying to find connections with his teammates, whether in the canteen, in the dressing room or on the pitch. He said, when you have that kind of behaviour, you get reward. That last sentence is the key one. Arteta is telling us that Gyökeres' improvement on the pitch is directly connected to his investment off the pitch. The relationships he is building, the extra sessions he is putting in, the questions he is asking, all of that has translated into better performances when it matters most. This is not just praise. This is Arteta explaining a philosophy. The players who do the work in the unseen moments are the ones who deliver in the visible ones. Arsenal and the celebrations criticism, Arteta's measured response. There was some criticism in the media following Arsenal's celebrations after eliminating Atletico Madrid from the Champions League. The suggestion was that Arsenal over-celebrated a semi-final victory. Arteta addressed this directly, and his response was composed and intelligent. He said he did not know about the criticism initially, but he said you have to respect every opinion and place it where it belongs. He was clear that he places that criticism exactly where he thinks it belongs, which is clearly not at the top of his priority list. He then said something analytically important. He said criticism is both positive and negative. He said that is what makes you better. He added that when you want to set higher standards and compete for the two most prestigious competitions in Europe, you have to be prepared for scrutiny because that is the nature of competing at that level. He said it makes you better. That is a psychologically mature response. Arteta is not dismissing the criticism. He is not getting defensive. He is contextualising it as part of the challenge of competing at the very top, and he is using it as fuel rather than noise. Arteta goes all in on West Ham focus. One of the most important things Arteta said in his entire press conference was about prioritisation. He acknowledged the Champions League final. He said the team talked immediately after the Atletico game. He said it was a great moment and they earned it. He said they will have time to prepare for the final, but then he made it absolutely clear where all energy goes right now. He said the focus, the attention, the detail, the energy, everything has to go into West Ham. He said there is nothing else, and he said they made that very clear internally. That message is important. It tells you Arteta has managed the emotional high of reaching a Champions League final and redirected his squad's attention back to the immediate task. The Premier League title is not won. West Ham is Sunday. Everything else comes after. West Ham's history against Arsenal, the numbers matter. Here is a statistical detail that adds important context to Sunday's game. West Ham have lost 38 Premier League games against Arsenal. The only team they have lost more Premier League games against is Liverpool with 39. That record puts Arsenal firmly among the most difficult opponents West Ham face in the league historically. That does not guarantee anything on Sunday, but it tells you this is a fixture where Arsenal's quality has consistently translated into results over time. History is on Arsenal's side, even at London Stadium. Transfer intelligence, what is happening this summer? Now let us look at the transfer picture because there are multiple stories developing simultaneously. The first involves Newcastle United. The situation is that Newcastle are expected to sell this summer and Arsenal have been monitoring several of their players. The names being discussed are Anthony Gordon, Sandro Tonali and Tino Livramento. According to journalist Ben Jacobs, the picture is becoming clearer. Newcastle are prepared to sell Anthony Gordon. They are also prepared to sanction a sale of Tino Livramento. However, the situation with Sandro Tonali is more complicated. Jacobs revealed that Newcastle will fight to keep both of their central midfielders. He said for Tonali to leave, the price would need to exceed £100 million. On top of that, Tonali commands a bigger wage than some of the other midfielders in the frame, and the agent commission involved is significant. Jacobs also noted that Newcastle may choose to delay any sale while they search for a replacement midfielder of their own. Manchester United have been linked with Tonali for some time, but Jacobs pointed out there is no guarantee United will pursue the deal given the overall cost involved. My analysis here is straightforward. If Newcastle are genuinely going to dig in on Tonali and demand over £100 million, Arsenal will have to make a serious decision about whether that represents value given the wages and commission on top. The total outlay for one player could become extraordinary. There may be smarter ways to strengthen the midfield for less money, particularly given that Lewis-Skelly has just shown he can operate at Champions League level in that position. Gordon and Livramento are different conversations. Gordon has been watched by Arsenal for some time and would add genuine attacking threat. Livramento as a right-back option is a known interest, but the Tonali deal looks expensive and complicated based on everything available right now. Now let us move to a rumour, and I want to be completely transparent with you here. This is a rumour. This is not a confirmed transfer. It is an early report and should be treated as such. Arsenal have reportedly made contact over a potential summer move for Bradley Barcola, the Paris Saint-Germain winger. The reports suggest Arteta is looking to strengthen his attack. Barcola has impressed again this season, contributing 12 goals and 5 assists despite facing significant competition for places in Luis Enrique's squad at Paris Saint-Germain. The belief, according to reports, is that Arsenal see Barcola as a perfect addition to the left-wing position ahead of next season. I want to stress again, this is a rumour. There is no confirmation of a bid. There is no confirmed asking price. There is no confirmation that Paris Saint-Germain would sell. What exists right now is reported contact and Arsenal's stated interest in strengthening that area of the squad. The timing is particularly interesting given that Arsenal will face Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League final. Both clubs are about to go head-to-head in Budapest. Whether that dynamic complicates or accelerates any potential negotiation this summer is something we simply do not know yet, but it is a story worth watching closely. Separately, Arsenal have been scouting Porto's Victor Froholt, a 20-year-old Danish midfielder. However, it is now clear that Froholt is not expected to be among Arsenal's primary targets this summer. The presence of Arsenal's recruitment staff at Porto's match last week was described as part of routine scouting commitments rather than a specific pursuit. So while Arsenal are keeping an eye on him, do not read too much into that story right now. Declan Rice, FWA recognition and the bigger picture to close the analysis today. Let me return to Declan Rice and the Football Writers Association recognition, because it sits at the heart of everything Arsenal have built this season. Rice has been officially confirmed as the second-ranked player in the FWA Footballer of the Year award for 2026. Bruno Fernandes won the award. Haaland came third. But the fact that Rice is in that conversation tells you how transformative his season has been. Now add to that what Arteta said about him. Outstanding, a leader, one of the main players without any doubt. What he is doing for the club is very powerful. Rice joined Arsenal from West Ham. On Sunday, he returns to London Stadium with Arsenal needing 3 points to continue their charge for the Premier League title. The narrative is almost too perfect to be real, but it is real. And the evidence suggests that Rice will be one of the most motivated players on that pitch on Sunday afternoon. Let me bring this all together for you. Arsenal are 4 games from completing something that would define this era of the club. They are chasing the Premier League title. They are preparing for a Champions League final. Their squad has played more games than any other team in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. Key injury absences like Timber and Merino will not be resolved before Sunday. But Myles Lewis-Skelly has emerged as a genuine midfield option. Bukayo Saka is back to his best. Declan Rice is being recognised as one of the finest footballers in England. And Mikel Arteta has his squad entirely focused on what comes next. West Ham on Sunday. The Premier League title in sight. Budapest at the end of May. This is the moment this club has been building toward. And from everything the evidence tells us today, Arsenal are ready. Thank you so much for watching. Melissa, Arsenal analyst. If this kind of deep, honest football analysis is what you are looking for, please subscribe to the channel right now. Leave a comment below telling me what you think about Sunday's game and whether you believe Arsenal will win the title. Share this video with every Arsenal fan you know, and I will see you in the next one. Come on, Arsenal.